Shubham Chauhan, along with my co-host Ishita Singhal, would like to welcome you all to today's finance panel discussion as a part of Sapience 2022. In words of Warren Buffett, someone is sitting in shade of a tree today because someone planted a tree long time ago. In today's world, finance has taken a new phase, with investors focusing on social justice and environment, regulators, and the planet itself require their voices to be heard.
We would like to welcome all the faculty members that are here with us. Sapience is the annual management conclave of Great Lakes Institute of Management, Gurgaon. And this year, theme for Sapience is balancing three core aspects of sustainability, that is, economy, environment, and ethics. A sustainable financial center is a financial marketplace that, as a whole, contributes to sustainable development and value creation in economic, environmental, and social terms. In other words, one that ensures and improves economic efficiency, prosperity, as well as economic competitiveness, both today and in the long run, while contributing to protecting and restoring ecological systems along with enhancing cultural diversity. Currently, more than 190 countries are committed to fight climate change and reduce environmental degradation by signing the Paris Agreement. India has also committed to be a net zero emission country. Therefore, to honor that commitment, we need to accelerate our actions and increase the ambition as we are facing the most important economic transactions of our times. We would like to welcome Dr. Debashish Sanyal, the Director, Great Lakes Institute of Management, Gurgaon. He is the finance domain expert. It's a pleasure to have you with here, sir.
I would now like to introduce the moderator, Dr. V.T. Singh. Dr. Singh has 28 years of experience in academic and research institutions. He has been associated with Great Lakes since 2010 and is currently the program director for 2-year PGDM. He holds a PhD degree in foreign exchange risk management from UBS Chandigarh. He was selected as doctoral student by European Commission and did part of his PhD from SAA Turin, Italy. He is an MBA from Bayer City College, University of Houston. He delivered several lectures to senior executives of leading companies like Maruti, IOCL, ONGC, Shell, Jindal Steel and Power, and HPCL, etc. I request VP sir to welcome our panelists.
Our first panelist is Mr. Sanjay Sharda. Mr. Sanjay Sharda has pursued his MBA from University of Pennsylvania. He completed his advanced development program from Wharton School. He is an accomplished banking professional with industry experience of over 30 years. He has served with several leading banks such as HDFC Bank, Citibank, Kotak Mahindra Bank, etc. He is currently associated with IndusInd Bank as National Partner Synergy. His major interest involves rural banking sector, which is something India is primarily focusing on since independence. His contribution to the banking sector is something that every finance graduate aspires for. We welcome you, sir.
It is my pleasure to introduce our next panelist, CA Shailesh Shuriwala. He is a member of Institute of Chartered Accountants of India and a commerce graduate from Delhi University. He is the founder of R2I2 Labs, an innovative lab researching problems in AI, IoT, blockchain, etc. He primarily focuses on designing novel solutions for finance and people ecosystem. Prior to starting R2I2, he worked at Deloitte and Godfrey Phillips. His in-depth knowledge of the sector will help us to understand more about the applicability of emerging technologies in area of sustainability. He is working on projects involving measuring and monitoring ESG metrics. We welcome you, sir. It is my pleasure to introduce our next panelist, Mr. Kaushik Acharya. Mr. Kaushik Acharya is an electrical engineer from Indian Institute of Engineering Science and Technology, Shirpur. He also holds executive certification from IIM Calcutta. He also pursued LLB degree from Mithila University. He possesses an experience of more than 38 years in augmenting business operations with organizations of high repute and was associated with BHEL for more than 13 years. and served as Executive Director for Northern Region. He primarily worked toward bringing continuous efficiencies in expenditures through operation control and technology, along with driven green energy initiatives throughout his career. We welcome you, sir.
I would now like to welcome our fourth panelist, CA Vaibhav Mangal. He is a person with dynamic profile with LLB from CCS University, along with BCom Honours from Khalsa College, University of Delhi. He is a certified associate chartered accountant from ICAI and associate company secretary from ICCI. He is also certified public accountant from Colorado State Board, USA. He is having more than 18 years of post-qualification experience in areas of finance, taxation, and accounting. He is a proficient at conceptualizing and implementing financial procedures, including tax management and compliance management, international taxation and planning management. He is currently associated with Amazon India as Senior Management Tax Advisory. He is an excellent communicator with demonstrated capabilities in managing large and diverse teams. We welcome you, sir. Now, I would like to request VP sir to kindly take the discussion forward.
Thank you so much, everybody, and thank you, panel members, for being with us and deliberating a discussion which is so important today. So, as we deliberate this discussion today on sustainability, growth, and ethics of this topic that we're discussing today, very interestingly, we have some members who are from the financial sector who would be providing the solutions. There are some people from the corporate, from consulting area, so who are dealing with these kind of things. Then we have two panel members who are from the manufacturing side, who are actually facing this problem. That as we are wanting to grow more, as we are wanting to produce more, we are also polluting more. So what is needed to be done? The challenges are many, the solutions are many, but each of those solutions, how do they fit into the market? Whether the consumers are ready for those kind of solutions as the prices increase, that is to be seen. How much is the sustainability of these solutions to provide a sustainable growth? That is what we will try to probe here. And I hope that you will find this discussion very interesting. I open the discussions. I would like that initially we can have some points which each one of you could mention about how your industry is getting affected, how you are related to sustainability goals. So I would like to begin with Shailesh. Shailesh, if you have to say something.
Hi, good afternoon all. It's good to see all of you. Such a keenness of hearing ESG, a topic, something which the largest of the largest investors in the world are still trying to figure out what exactly this is, right? And we are here discussing at so early stage. Fair. First of all, even for discussing ESG problems in manufacturing industry, what are things like it's stopping ESG being there? I'll have very basic questions so that we open up our mind frame and then we'll discuss further. Governments in India have been trying to eradicate the single-use plastic, right? The polythene bags. Multiple times notification, multiple times circulars and everything. Huge penalty. Even if you see a roadside vendor, if he is seen or caught giving a polythene bag, the penalty amount is somewhere close to 5,000 to 10,000, right? But still, that single polythene still strives in the economy because we want it to strive. How many of you go shopping, take a bag with you? Bhaiya, aaj de do, kal le aunga. It happens, right? The same thing when you apply to a larger perspective, it becomes ESG, right? It becomes sustainability. Now we are talking at an individual level, just to try to eradicate the single-use plastic, and when we bring it to the corporate, there are multiple other variables and metrics, the pollutants that they emit, the smokes that they have, other kind of hazardous materials, other kinds of how in the supply chain, the human trafficking, the underage, the labor, the exploited natural resources used in their own supply chain. Multiple factors come into place, and this all together forms sustainability. Right? So at the end of the day, it comes to the fact that the the consumers, as a consumer, are we really looking into that matrix of any corporate while taking a decision, a buying decision, whether this has been done through green means or not, right? I must sound little bit of off in this. I can play the devil's role in this, right? Uh, every corporate or every business that exists in this world is for one single primary purpose, is to earn value to their stakeholders, right? Now, if I start doing a social job, I'll turn out to be an NGO, right? I'll not, by definition, I cannot be called as a business if I turn out to do something which is only good for the society and not good for my stakeholders, right? So there's a balance that needs to be done, and this is all the discussion that the world is going about, like how to achieve that. I cannot always say that I do everything by green means, because that substantially increases my cost, and if it increases my cost, I lose a competition in the market. At the end of the day, I get dismotivated, demotivated. The board says ESG will look into later. Now let's focus into the business, right? So this is the challenge we are going through, and as we move forward, we'll talk more about how these challenges come into play and what are the possible solutions about this. I think this is what I'll have to say from a start.
Thank you so much, Shailesh. You brought out a very, very important aspect, especially us being business school students. We are looking at whether the market is ready to buy this agenda of sustainability or not. So if we are trying that the plastic carry bags should not be used, how much of that we are implementing at our side? So we study in economics, demand, supply. Demand for sustainability is definitely there. But are we ready to pay that price? Yesterday when we were talking with Mr. Kaushik Acharya, we talked about this, and later on during this, I think we will bring out this aspect more clearly for the students. Can I request Mr. Vaibhav Mangal to present his side? So this would be largely from the manufacturer's side, that what kind of problems we are facing.
Yeah. Thanks, Vikas, and thanks, Shailesh. So so I'm working in a manufacturing organization. So from a manufacturing organization perspective, the product cycle has to be seen very, very deeply. So right from the raw materials which you procure, you turn it into a finished product, then you pack it, you take it to the market, you sell it, right? And some of it may not get sold, then you take it back and you dispose it off, and then the packaging material also has to be disposed. So it's the end-to-end cycle of the product which needs to be looked by the manufacturing companies. So that's one part. The second part is how the manufacturing is done. So manufacturing is done through energy, right? So from where the energy comes. So energy can come from coal, it can come from sustainable sources, it can come from wind. The organizations, some of it is not in your hands. See, because the electricity is given by the government, and that government is generating that electricity. So if you see now, government has taken this plea that by 2030, 50% of our electricity will be generated from sustainable sources. So out of the 830 gigabyte, and sir will be more, having more information on that. But 50% of the energy will be from those sources. And if given a chance for a company, we would like to take electricity from a source which is a sustainable one, even if it is little higher of cost, because we want to sustain the environment. So that is one. So starting from energy, steam. So for example, in steam now we are using briquette, we are using various other options. We are not trying to use electricity as such, because that's at least in our hands. So starting from electricity, then the water, from where is the water getting and how you're using the water, whether the water is being reused, those kind of things. So then comes the water, then comes the packaging, the plastic. How can I reduce the plastic usage, and are there alternate options for you, and then in that, in the plastic itself, whether you can use the plastic which is recycled plastic instead of a fresh one taken from the petrochemical products. So I'll give our live example. in two of our products, we are using products, the plastic which is from the recyclable plastic. And in India right now, that plastic is not available. Those granules are not available because of the demand supply issue. The demand is not there because it's little costly. So if you demand it, then supply will be there. And now I'm hearing from my supply chain team that within next 3-4 months there is a supplier who's setting up such kind of a facility for companies who want to use those granules. So in a sense, if you are ready to take one step, then you will also get those benefits. So that is on the packaging side. And then how you take it to take those plastics back from the environment or from your ecosystem. How do you use that? That is also very, very important. So overall, it is as I think you rightly started. It is all in your hands. It is all in your hands. Started from a small taking your bag when you go to a shop for a shopping, to when you as a corporate, when you go for your shopping or when you do your purchases. How do you do that? How do you sustain that? That is very, very important. And if we do that, I think finally we'll be able to move in that right path. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Vaibhav. Thank you so much. And once again, we are coming to the point that manufacturing, as we keep on aspiring higher standards of living, we will have to produce more. As we produce more, we will have to consume more energy. Where do we get all this energy from? If we are looking at the traditional fossil fuels, we keep on polluting more. If we are looking at the renewable energy, it is going to be costly. Who is going to pay for this increased cost? The generator, the distributor, or the government, or us consumers? So it is increasingly becoming evident that it is ultimately, if we want to have a safe environment, we should be ready to pay something additional. Let us see how all these things, this is becoming an interesting dimension. Let us see. Over to you, Mr. Shah.
Yeah, hi. So I'll start with the father of the nation. I think all of you must have read and seen this term, which is called like, be the change you want to see, right? So it starts with you. Sustainability starts with us, like carrying the simple chola to buy vegetables, or asking for that plastic bag and just shutting and just putting it out. I remember when I grew up, you would just throw it anywhere. Okay. Now if I try it in front of my kids, they will beat me up. So that's the big change. Okay. From not wearing a seat belt to my daughter not letting me drive the car till I wear a seat belt. I think that's all becoming part of conscious. I've seen, kids asking my colleagues' kids asking them, do you file taxes? Because I think that is also, the tax department has gone to the classroom and talked about taxation. So kids asking parents, do you file taxes? Okay, that's a big, big change, believe me. And I can bet till about 8, 9 that I didn't even know what income tax was. At least I did not know. Okay, and I was one of the best schools in Delhi, modern school. Okay, but still we didn't know what taxation was. Okay, so that's a big, big change which is coming in. And I think people in India are getting conscious, but again, that Indian mindset of incremental cost and incremental revenue. That why should I pay that extra $10 for that bag, which when I go to a shop and buy, vis-a-vis ERE plastic bag, right? So that is the mindset. And when even people buy electric car, I went to once to see one electric car in Delhi, and somebody was asking me, "Iski mileage kitni aati hai?" So this is the mindset. I said, this is what this is the mindset which people of the generation, which is the Z, whatever Z or whatever whatever Z, right? Yeah, that's the term I heard from my kids. So I think that's the kind of change which you should bring in. Okay, that is the fresh mindset which should get percolated down to the ground level, and then things will start changing. So going back again to Mahatma Gandhi's thing, that bring the change which you want to see. So please bring that mindset when you step out when you start working. I think that's the biggest change each one of you can do. And I think everybody has his or her own sort of influence. And your circle of influence starts with what you do first, more than and what your family does next. Okay, so that's the first thing we should do. Sustainability and ESG is part of our DNA in the bank. Everybody in the bank has KRAs, which is key result areas. Uh, all of us who are EVP and above have their KRAs are inbuilt. We have a 15% weightage on what we have done during the year. So we have a rating scale of 1 to 5. You can only get a 5 if you've done 5 in you get a 5 in ESG, sorry. Okay, that means we participated. We have a concept called Green Champions. These are people who lead at the grassroots level. And how do we build up? So we planted 56,000 trees. Okay, we have cut down our travel by 92%. Of course, helped by the pandemic largely, but the long-term goal is to cut it by 35% and use MS Teams, okay, as the alternate. I manage the almost whole part of the country, and I have not been to a lot of places which I used to go like at the top of the hat. So that's the biggest change which is coming. We use of course, MS Teams and Google Meets and whatever else with software which are coming. And also we have started slowly getting our offices into total solar based energy. Okay, so we have I think about 42 processing units which we have across across the country. 21 or 23 now are using total solar technology. We don't have electricity connection. Okay, so that's the kind of thing which we have done. We are increasingly focusing on financing sustainable enterprises. Okay, we have a book of right now about 18,000 crores, which is dedicated to ESG portfolio as of this is as of 31st March. I cannot there was figures now for previous figures, but published figures 18,000 crores is a portfolio. We are looking at taking it to presently 23% of our book. We plan to take it to 45% by 2024. So 45% of our book will be dedicated to this, and in order to ensure that we are ALM, which is asset liability management, is managed, we've initiated something called green deposits. Okay, so these green deposits are basically money raised from customers, which will be used to finance the ESG-led ventures. So banks borrow to lend, right? I don't know whether you heard of the famous 3-5-3 joke, which is you borrow at 3, lend at 5, and we at the golf course at 3. Those days are over, but still, that joke still is there. Okay, so that's it. So that's what we're doing. Right now, up to EVP and above have a ESG target. I think starting this year or next year, most likely, we will have right up to the ground level. So even a branch manager will have a target of cutting down his electricity bill by 20% in the first year, 25% in the second year, 30% in the third year. And also ensuring that in the vicinity of the branch, we implant at least 100 trees. Okay, that's the next thing which we are trying to do. These are very basic examples which we are doing. Of course, we are the only bank in the country which is part of the S&P Dow Jones Sustainability Index. We are ranked 57th among 914 companies which are tracked by the Dow Jones S&P index. We were also ranked highest among all the Indian companies. There were about, I think, 94 companies which are part of this index from India. We are the first and only bank. So we are doing our part on building up a sustainable future for the country. And I'm sure, as I said, the change starts with you. So be the change. Thank you.
I think we can begin with a round of applause. These kind of targets which the bank has set for itself towards the sustainability goals and the kind of performance they have made at Dow Jones Index across all the world countries and within India also, it is definitely appreciated by the new budding young managers. We are making the world sustainable for them. Yes, so Mr. Acharya is from power sector, and the power sector is generally considered to be one of the largest polluters. So it would be interesting to know your perspectives.
I will deviate a bit from written track that my co-panelists, respected co-panelists, Dr. Sanyal and the Sapience. The Sapience, what is the meaning of Sapience? Sapience, the Magi. Magi means, what is Magi? Have you read The Gift of Magi written by Somerset Maugham? So I am the oldest amongst all, you know. So, I am speaking to you about things which was in late 70s. Sir, maybe you must have read that.
Yeah.
So Magi means wise people.
Not Mujahideen.
Not without you.
Not
Mujahideen.
Not Magi, M-A-G-I-E.
I know, sir. I know. I'm just talking. So,
You are the wise people who are reasonable and applies reason and judgment. Because I will tell you one thing, the new generation always comes with knowledge which olders don't have. The old is like us feel that we are having a lot of knowledge that we don't. Knowledge is from you, experience is from us. So knowledge of experience is from me, from him, from the panelists, not all, some of the panelists. Most of them are young. So they're also in the knowledge plus experience category. And people like me are mostly from experience category. Knowledge what I had is a passing. It's maybe archaic knowledge, provided I don't want to unlearn those knowledges and relearn something differently and something which is applicable to me. So the topic that has been going to be discussed here in respect of sustainability, in respect of ESG, in respect of environment and ethics is highly argumentative. And it is more so in the changing business landscape that we are through. But as if you're all from finance background, whenever you enter into a job as a budding executive, your boss will always ask you about what is the financial matrix, what is the target, where your company or your department has reached. He will not expect from you that you speak great about ESG and other things. Okay. Just have retired 8 months back. I was heading northern region of Bharat Heavy Electricals Limited as executive director. I used to do a lot of fiddling with financial parameters in order to remain on books a profitable unit, profitable vertical, a cash rich vertical. There are many nasty things I have also done. I have stopped paying my vendors at the quarter end. 15th of the last month of the quarter, I will stop payments to them, so that I can show my cash is profoundly okay. Okay, because I have to sign a lot of papers which are part of the requirement from a listed company, as per I think clause 49 of corporate governance.
Clause 31 of listing agreement.
Of listing, of listing agreement. So I write all those things. Then I have to sign it. So I have to maintain that my company, at least you can say all verticals are company per se, remains cash free. Similarly, in profit area, in order to show the bottom line, also a lot of juggleries we do, that you will have to do it. But does it entail that you will leave aside the requirements of environment? Will you do that? No. Because what we have seen in last few decades is that the nature is knocking at our door and telling what the hell you are doing. You are unmindful of the future generation as far as conservation of natural resources are concerned. You are going berserk in consuming those things. So I will not allow that. Nature is coming up with flash floods and many other such things, and temperatures going haywire. what we have seen in Europe, where the normal temperature, even during summer, would have been to the tune of 20 degree, it is now going up to 40-45 degrees Celsius. It is not expected. Some time back, just now, somebody has spoken about this Bangalore. It has been inundated. Why it has got inundated? The basic concept of expanding Bangalore to this extent was a mistake by my generation. You will have to correct it. If you see the topography of Bangalore, it is surrounded by hills and it is a plateau. What used to happen during Tipu Sultan's time? All the water used to come down and get accumulated a number of lakes. Tipu had one of his French advisor, when he was going to install his fort there to combat these Marathas as well as Nizam of Hyderabad, that advisor told him, please don't do it. It will be a biggest mistake. We have not seen it. After retirement only I have read that. So these are the things which your previous generation has done a mistake. Many other places those mistakes have happened. Those mistakes are to be corrected. Who will correct it? Generation Z or generation double Z, which you are, has to do it. Aside of your own responsibility as a finance executive or a finance manager. Now coming to my topic, my area of interest, that is how the pollution is being done by the great pollutant, that is thermal power and associated area. This we will be discussing way forward when further discussion will happen. First, the genesis we will have to see. How much GHG, what is GHG? Greenhouse gas. How much GHG emission this world is making today? It is to the tune of 48,500 or so million tons of carbon dioxide equivalent. I think my 100-200 MTO के आसपास figures are there written here. Out of that, what is India's contribution? It's very little, only 7%. So here, a little deviation from the topic. Our population is 17.8% of the world population, but our carbon footprint that way, in terms of emission, is only 7%. It's not big, but even then, in the latest COP26 on 21st November 2021, our Prime Minister has made a commitment to the nation. The commitment is known as, anybody knows that the commitment is known as Panchamrit. Who said it? Joseph. I could see your.
No, it's tense.
Yes. Panchamrit. What is the Panchamrit? He has started with one of the topic of Panchamrit. No, yourself, yeah. That is, renewables will be 500 gigawatt by 2030. Today, how much renewable is there? 114.06 gigawatt.
So 3 times more.
So that we'll have to achieve by 2030. Whose responsibility it is? The youngsters. If I say like that, then I am mistaken. It is my responsibilities too, because I'm still alive. Okay. To see that 500 gigawatt we reach, it may be difficult, but it has to be done. This is number one. Number two, we will have to reduce this emission in our economy by 45% of the level that we were in 2005. Am I correct?
Yes.
This is the second one. Third is net zero emission. We'll have to achieve it by which year?
2070.
Beautiful, 2070. And US has made a promise by which year they are going to achieve it? 2040. And China?
2060.
Beautiful, I need not, they are all aware of all these things. So these are the background. On this background, what is the solution to reduce the carbon footprint in terms of GHG emission. That is more important. Now, out of the total GHG emission that is happening in this country, energy sector is responsible for how much percentage? Huh? It is about 70%.
70.
70. To be precise, 68.76%. So energy sector comprises of what? Coal-based sectors. There is 210 gigawatts. 1 gigawatt is 1000 megawatts. Second is the industries where gases are used. Third, cement industry. Fourth is the road traffic. These are the major energy related pollutants. And to some extent, refineries also. Because our crude is refined in the refinery through fractional distillation processes, which is accompanied with effluents. These are also the pollutants. How to go about it, how to resolve? The technology is available. What is the total cost involved? What is the capital outlay? How much time it will take? These are the point of discussion. And it's very important to go about and learn how we can do it and what we are doing in this field. Way forward, we will be deliberating on this also. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr.
Most missed out part. Environment, we all know what we are talking about. We have a larger picture in mind whenever we talk of environment. Social, more or less, yes, human trafficking, underaged laborers and all this stuff. But what exactly is governance? Whom do we govern? What is governance? Why is this governance tagged with ESG and why is this called all together? And this is governance somewhat correlates with ethics also, directly or indirectly. Governance, see, as Acharya sir clearly said, in terms of financial fitments of information, right? I'm a very large preacher of this, truly open preacher of this. I can guarantee any financial statements on the public domain. If you think that's correct, let's sit on a discussion. Right? Does it represent a correct 100% picture of the business that it's being operated out of under the hood of that financial statements? I doubt. Right? I've been on the preparation of the financial sites, auditing of the financial sites, review of the financial sites, listed, unlisted, SME, all segments. But I've never seen a financial statement which actually reflect the true position of the business. It's said that financial statements reflect a true and fair view of the business. But is it a true position? I have my own reservations for it. Right? And here comes the governance part, and here comes the ethics part. There have been rules, laws, legislations, everything, independent director, boards, no single person is taking a decision on any of the financial matrix, how the financial is to be presented, auditor. Multiple laws, regulations have been framed for across over 100 years, right? But still there is no right mix because it cannot be. The framer of law is a human and the meter of the law is also a human. A very simple example is that we all have heard GST, right? GST. When GST came, there was a concept of e-way bill that came in. Right? It said that any goods that is being transferred from one person to other person with a value of, say, suppose X, it was 50,000, more than 50,000, a e-way bill needs to be there. Apart from invoice also, e-way bill is a separate documental requirement. The law read in this way: when the goods are transported on a motor vehicle for a distance of 8 kilometers or more. Right? So what happened in Chandni Chowk? The bullock carts came across again. People stopped using motor cars. To go for a distance of more than 8 kilometers, बैलगाड़ियाँ बाहर आ गई. And this is what I have seen. My father had a business in Chandni Chowk, and we have seen they started transporting goods 10, 15, 20 kilometers using bullock carts and horse carts. What will you do of the laws? Here comes the ethics and the governance part. Now to say that the entire community or the entire business people in the Chandni Chowk is doing and one person there will stand up, nahi, main to ethics, I'll prepare a e-way bill on it. I'll lose my customer. I lose my customer. You say, no, I'll not give you. I have other person just aside you who is ready to do this. If you are not, kab tak? There will be a time frame and I'll also abide by these things. So these things generally does not happen all of a sudden. Right? ESG is something which all of a sudden came into the picture, right? And all of a very good hype has been created. I'll be, again, as I said in the earlier, I'll be very blunt about it. Consultants play a very beautiful role in the economy. Right? Great role. Right? Yes. So today, who is the largest stakeholder of ESG? Not corporates, not you and me, it's the consultants. Corporates, they'll not gain anything out of getting out of ESG. Sir is saying that they'll cut travel cost by 39% in the long term. Fair. Even if they don't focus on ESG, cutting cost by 39% will increase their profitability. Anyways, promoters and the board will want it to be cut by 39%. Why ESG? ESG is a labeled thing. Okay, now if I'm cutting already cost by 39% and the world is perceiving me as a green company, fair, why will I not take that advantage? I'll say that I've cut cost by 39% and see now I've become an ESG good company. Why will I not do that? At the end of the day, everyone is playing a perception game. They are all into a game. Right? And money is the best game ever invented by humans. Right? So, now, so consultants are the one who is at the highest position in the stakeholder in terms of ESG thing. So, you'll listen a lot of articles, you'll listen a lot of things into it. Everybody will try to mix two things. One, the actual impact of doing something good, and second, monetizing that actual impact that is happening. When we talk of environment, why do you really want to measure how much your share price will go up by planting one tree? Why do you want to do that? Plant one tree, let it grow. Why do you want that cost of one tree to be factored in your share price so that it go by $1 up and your stakeholders' wealth is created? How many of you have invested in any mutual funds which is ESG category?
If you've not, please strongly advise you to buy 3 things. Start investing in a SIP, buy a health insurance and buy a pension plan. Because by the time you become 35, 40, there will be no defined contribution like a PF, which is there for us. You will have to build up your own corpus. So start doing it from today.
So that is an investment decision. That's an investment
That's
advice.
the first advice I give to everybody who
Yes.
graduates.
That's a very brilliant investment advice. Start early, do early. We all know the effect of compounding. Right? If you invest 50 lakhs today, 15 years from now, if you compound it at a percentage of 12, it will become close to like 5 crores. But if you keep it for from 15 to 20 years, just 5 years more, it will become 20 crores. So this is the effect of compounding, and this is the point of starting earlier, right? Because you can't do it 15, at the age of 60, you can't wait for another 5 years to become 5 crore to 20 crore, right? But you can wait at the age of 50. When you turn 55, it becomes a great wealth. So that's maybe
You need not invest all along up to the age of 60.
Yeah.
If you are at the age of say 25 today, invest for 6 to 7 years. You will get a multiplier when you turn 60 and enjoy your life.
Yeah. So what I was trying to say is that
brings a very interesting dimension. Since we are all advising people for investing more, to have higher wealth and to consume more. Whether such a high consumption across the planet, across the country is sustainable, that is probably.
But the question
Look at
comes
that of-
whether
I'll answer that.
whether the system prevailing
So you could use
around
the
us.
mic
No,
because-
I think am I audible?
Yes, sir.
I'm always audible. See, just I have come out from. मैं अभी समुद्र से निकल के आया हूँ.
Wow.
I used to speak without mic. This is not my dialogue. I have modified the dialogue of Amitabh Bachchan in the film Sharabi. What I would like to tell you, there are schemes. If I specifically mention those schemes, then I will be marketing those particular financial institutions which I am not mandated to. There are schemes. But seriously speaking, if you start investing just when you come out of your academy and join some job where you will be able to do that. Do it for 6-7 years. And now coming to the other point, whether nature will not allow you. Nature is not going to allow you to spend person. And after some time you will find everything is happening through e-commerce portal. You need not go to mall or shopping plazas because your electricity tariff is going to increase with incorporation of pollution control equipment in the system. That will increase the electricity charges. Now, if a commercial place, say a mall, is open for 7 to 8 hours a day, then whatever they're spending, it will be passed through to the consumers. So you will find the purchasing something through e-commerce portal will be much cheaper. I find nowadays it's like this. Sorry,
So no
I've
problem.
intervened you.
No problem. Great discussion. So what I was trying to say is that, see, the stakeholders who exist in the ecosystem to earn out of the problem, they'll never solve the problem. One who is alive in the ecosystem only to earn out of the problem, to suggest and to advise of the problem, they'll never try to solve the problem completely, because if they solve the problem, then no advice is needed. No? So why? They'll never try to solve the problem. So a consultant will never solve a problem. I have been on that side also. Right?
It's complicated.
It's complicated. It's
No,
complicated.
they complicate it
They
further.
complicate, yes. So if somebody from that fraternity would hear me, I'll be beaten up, but fair. Right? So they never solve. We are not there to solve a problem. A consultant's job is not to solve a problem. It's only to advise how to get over that problem for bare minimum a year, so that you call me another year again. If not me, मेरे भाई को, है ना? If not somebody again in the turnover 3 साल बाद, 4 साल बाद, 2 years, 3 years down the line, again you'll call me ना. सबका चलता रहना चाहिए. Everybody is happy in the ecosystem, right? So people will mix two things. Number one, having an actual impact and portraying an actual impact. So now what is happening, at least in the ESG domain, is that it's been picturized in such a manner that if everybody, even if we all sitting here, do not think about ESG now, the world is gonna end tomorrow. Right? Even if you think of ESG now, the world is gonna end. Even if you don't think, the world is gonna end. You'll have to think it from a perspective starting at your level. Everybody have their own job. We have become so lazy. We as an individuals have become lazy to do good things in terms of sustainability. So what happened? The responsibility shifted from individuals to corporates, right? You do. Right? Again, in between, the government is the stakeholder. It is the government's responsibility to define adequate laws and regulations and monitor those regulations so that things are maintained in an appropriate manner. Government failed to some extent and they were not able to do. They became lazy. A thing came ESG. Now it's corporate's responsibility. You do everything on your own will, right? And it should be something which is good for the environment. CSR, we all have heard of corporate social responsibility, right? 2% or 5% of the net profit and sales, you will have to spend it mandatorily. Have you heard CSR has been in India from 2013, right? When companies like 2013 came in, CSR came in. Have you ever heard of any company coming in and saying in their annual report that we have done this much of CSR, so we are a very good company now and you need to buy our shares and buy our products? No. Then why about ESG? What is the primary difference between CSR and ESG? CSR is also helping the sustainability and helping the society at a large. Sustainability is helping society at a large by your more means also, right? So again, so this has more been picturized because there is a huge opportunity to earn money. It's a money-making machine, right? ESG advisory is a money-making machine, and so there will be hundreds of opinions which will get complex or perplexed with, which will have a real impact, but the picturization would be different. The real impact can even start by, as I started, not taking a poly bag or not asking for a poly bag. To say, we are not at a very mature stage at this point in time where you can go to a shopping mall and have a choice that, okay, I'll not buy this product because this is not using those kind of raw materials or inputs or processes which are sustainable friendly. Why I'm saying so? Why we don't have that thing? Because we do not have that kind of visibility. So today I buy this packet of napkin. What information do I have regarding sustainability on this? If I have 2 packets of napkin, how do I know which has used more sustainable, friendly process in terms of procuring, in terms of manufacturing, in terms of supplying, in terms of distributing? I don't have any information, right? So we don't have any visibility. If you do not have any visibility, you can't take any choice. If you list out all your activities and for the entire day and for your entire year of life, a human does only 2 things. They take choices, and they take choices on the basis of visibility. The more visibility you have, the better choice you make. The better choice you make, it gives you more visibility of your future activities. So the world revolves around 2 things, visibility and choice. So if you do not have a visibility in terms of the product that you are buying today, how will you take a choice that is good? Till the time the industry matures that brings in visibility, we as an individual or consumer of the product can't take a choice.
So that's interesting. I thought probably Mr. Weber would like to comment on this as part of industry, and also I think we could connect 2 things, points that Shailesh has raised about visibility, how are we enabling the choice from the market, and the other one which Mr. Acharya talked about, pass through, whether the increased costs of this kind of production and creating that visibility, can we actually pass it on to the consumer? Is the consumer ready for that? If we could have some light on that.
Yeah. So in terms of the the pricing, how to pass on the pricing to the consumer. See, at the end of the day, it's a competitive world. People are, when you go to the market to buy something, you are looking for the product, the feel, the brand, and also to some extent the price. It also depends, which market it is. If it's a market like a Delhi market or Mumbai, people have more money to spend. They are more aware. They may go for a product which is more friendly, and they will like to pay more money for it. But if you go to rural markets and other such markets, people are very very sensitive to price. So it all depends on which product you are in. I would say it has to be company driven, plus the government has to come in some things. For example, on the electricity side, they are saying that at least 50% of the electricity will be from the renewable resources, like that. So some of it has to come from the government, some of it has to come from the regulations, some of it has to come from the companies. If their products are price elastic, if consumers are ready to pay and they want to take that choice, and otherwise, it is a slow process, a gradual process. I don't think you can have a situation wherein you can reduce everything to zero at one go. But as I mentioned earlier, it all depends on the overall ecosystem and the demand and supply. If gradually companies and the government pushes people to do these things and there is a demand, then the supply will also increase for these things, including sustainable packaging and those things. And just one more thing on the ethics side, I think you touched upon it and we just left it there. On the ethics side, I would a little disagree with what Shailesh said. I think he was saying that he was taking a different view, but my view is that it also depends on the company. If you see companies like Tata Group, they are very ethical companies, and we are aware. And they for example, if you are aware, when they went into telecom market, their venture was not successful. And then they had a partnership with Tata Docomo. They paid $1.2 billion in spite of the regulations in India not having them to allow to pay. And they went out of the way, they went into Supreme Court and they said we want to pay. And Supreme Court, favored them, and then they were able to pay. Had it there been any other organization, they would have taken that plea that my laws don't allow me, I will not pay. So those are the things. The ethics come from the organization. So small things like, so I'm from the taxation function. When I go to the tax department, I am representing my company as an MNC. If I am telling, if the other person is expecting something, and if I am very firm on it, For example, when I was in PepsiCo, we were sponsoring the IPL, the first IPL. There was a commissioner who asked me that he wants some tickets for his family. So I said we can't give. He came to our office, he did a survey. We spent 5 years in litigation, but we didn't pay the money to this guy, and we didn't pay that tickets also. So ultimately, after 5 years, that guy had understood that these guys are like this. Then last 10 years, even I have left. No such surveys have happened, and we are having good time with the tax department. So what I'm saying is, it all depends on the company also. You have to take a stand. Ethics is also very, very important, because these are all short-term things. You can pay money and get some favor, but at the end of the day, it creates a tone for you, and then all those corruption and everything starts in the organization.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Would like to have comments from Mr. Sharda, largely on financing aspects. So your bank has already said that 45% of the book goes towards green finance.
Will go to.
So that means in future, shall we say that the financing is not going to be much of a problem for green projects? And because other companies would also probably like to follow the same kind of strategy, and especially as there is already a move towards linking the share price with the sustainability movements, various activities that companies do. So should we consider there will be adequate liquidity available? Interest rates are rising. Growth is not possible so much in the globe. So financing for these kind of projects would be easy.
Okay, I will break it into multiple parts.
Yes.
Okay. So I think all of you have heard of the Hippo principle. Hippo principle, highest paid officer gets his way out. Right? So I think taking off from what Vero was talking about, ethics starts defined by the highest person in the organization. If he or she is very ethical, is conscious, things fall into place. If person cuts corners, I think the entire organization gets the message very fast, faster than the guy can think of. So that is the start. The starts, as I said in my previous session also, that the ethics and your sustainability all starts with you. If you are ethical, if you are steadfast on the ethics, nobody will change. I have seen multiple people having very short careers in my last 27 years of working. And they rose very fast, but they also burst very fast because they were applying all kind of shortcuts. And as I always say that to all inductions, I do all inductions on management trainings, and I do a lot of them every year.
Check that mic is good. Is there a green light?
No.
You could press that for long.
Okay, sorry, I didn't know. Can you hear me now better? Okay. So I think short circuits always result in shortcuts always result in short circuits in life. If you want to have a sustainable career, again, sustainability starts with ethics, okay, and compliance. If you're ethical and compliant, nobody's going to cut you. But if you try to cut corners, you will be cut yourself, and very fast. Okay. Then in terms of financing, yes, and I think again, taking from what Suresh was talking about, the labeling has been very good, and the West has this uniqueness of being able to label things in a manner which we have not yet learned. Okay, in 2010, 5 to 2018, 16, the CSR was a big thing. Remember we had to publish in our, because we are listed company, we had to publish that 2% of our income, of our net income or PAT is actually spent on CSR. And I remember one time, maybe it was Deloitte only, which had pointed and actually qualified the statement saying that although the CSR has to be about 300 crores, the bank has only spent 160 crores, so 140 crores is a carry forward. So next year we have to further add to that our 2% and add another 140 crores in that. So I think that will always be the case. People will try to cut corners in good times. If you're knowing that your making 4,000 crores in a year, you spend 2% of that, that's about 80 odd crores or whatever, you can spend that. But in bad times, people like to cut that so that they have a little bit more cash flow. So these acts of balancing are fine as long as you don't cheat. Okay. So that's the thing. Second, the third part of the question: will financing become easy? Financing will never be easy. Okay. Because I think the biggest and the most important crucial part of financing is your ability to recover money. Because it's not your own money; it is shareholders or depositors' money. So as long as you are able to ensure that the person who's managing the venture which you are lending to is ethical, is compliant, and will repay, and has some track record of repayment, whether it is personal or from that company, we will lend. There's never a no to a company which is ethical and compliant and has repaid this loan on time. Bad times always come. I also manage microfinance business for a bank, which is about 30,000 crores of balance sheet. We've had the most horrific 2 years of life in microfinance. Okay? And we only know how we managed the last 2.5 years in microfinance. People who take 40,000 rupees and willingly come every week to the center meeting to prepay that 800 rupees every week without fail, did not have even a chance to go out or venture out to sell the product. They didn't have money. There was never a willingness issue, but there was a ability issue. Okay? And so we had to manage for about a year and a half till the corona rate came down and we could sit across each other, they could sell their wares and repay the loan. So there was a huge terrific 2 years was the most horrific period for us in microfinance. Okay? But he still stood by those customers because he knew their willingness was not an issue. They never had an intention that they would not pay. But they were just unable to pay because of the short-term shocks which were there in the economy and the restrictions which came across. So financing is not an issue as long as you have a track record. And ESG is just a good marketing technique. I would totally agree with you, Suresh. It's just a nice labeling thing which the West has come out with. We have these short 5-year, 7-year kind of time frames which they come out with new terminology so they can borrow big money from developing countries and actually put them down. Otherwise, someone was saying that 7% is the carbon emissions, whereas we all know who's the biggest contributor to carbon dioxide. It is US and then China, and they have their own. And I know how by 2040 they will come to a zero emission. It is not possible because today when you go to the US, people still want a plastic bag. They don't give a damn. The concept of cloth bag and all doesn't. And the best part about our country, and I like to praise my own country first, is that we had this inbuilt from ages. Before plastics, we used to have the same jhola which people used to carry to buy anything, right? We were always using steel utensils in the house. We never had those plastics which US uses. We used to use the steel glasses to drink water, and then we use those status foam or whatever it's called to which is again single use throw. So there the culture was inbuilt that they would end up polluting the ocean, they will end up polluting the land, they will end up polluting cities. But in our case, we were always sustainable. We always had this thing. We used to have a ghada for water, that tradition, man. So all these things are already ingrained in our society. It's just that the British just confused the shit out of us for 200 years. And literally took about $45 trillion from us. That is the estimate. $45 trillion. Pounds or dollars, whatever. I mean, there's no fixed. Unlike Poland, which has come out with a number for Germany to repay, India has not come back with a number which we should get from the UK. But still, $45 trillion is in today's money. Okay, and if anybody can guess how much is $1 trillion. If you spend $1 million every day from the date Christ was born, you will still have more than $500 million in you. Okay, that is what $1 trillion is. 1 followed by 12 zeros. That is the amount of money which they have taken from us.
So I would like to bring back the attention to these largest producers trying to be now cleaner.
Yeah.
And,
So just कहते हैं ना अब क्या करते हैं पाप बुक करके गंगा जाके धो लेते हैं. The US is doing the same thing. They're just trying to wash away their sins by coming out with these fancy terminologies every 5-7 years. First was CSR, then was green gases, now it is ESG. So it's just a concept.
Prior to that, they brought in one concept known as ISO compliance.
ISO compliance.
No, you go ahead.
Yeah. So I think it's a good fashion. I think all of you would have seen Levi's jeans. Nowadays, Uniqlo jeans. Uniqlo is the biggest trend for clothes for most of the people, including me. I end up also buying Uniqlo stuff. It is so cheap and disposable. So I think all these trends will change. A good business will always have never dearth of financing. Ethical person will always sustain himself, whether short-term losses can always be long-term gains. Okay? And this is for all of you because you are going to be getting into the job market very soon. Please keep this in your mind. Don't look for short-term gains. Look for long-term gains. Think about 5, 10, 15 years. Don't think about 5 months and 12 months. That's the most important lesson for all of you. I have also been a management training in my life. I was in a different country, but the lessons remain the same. So thank you.
I would like to invite some comments. I'll just connect a few things.
Any specific area?
Yes, creates more price of coal globally, accentuated of course by some rains in Indonesia and other places. Coal prices rise that make our power companies unsustainable. And then you also talked about the pass-through in your previous list. So this is what I want you to connect, that the costs are going to rise in this scenario. So to what extent we'll be able to pass it to the customer? And does that mean that the market is getting limited? How would you connect all these things and say, briefly sir, we were just about to start the question.
The topic is a bit serious.
Of
As
course.
far as power sector's footprint is concerned, as far as their footprint in GHG emissions is concerned. 60, as I've told in previous round of talk, that 68.78% or 68.77% is the contribution of energy sector in polluting the atmosphere. And when honest goes to thermal power plant. To reduce those things, technologies are available, and these technologies are getting implemented in this country. And total capital outlay, if we consider only for FGD full form is not finished. It is flue gas desulfurization. Prior to that, I would speak a bit to set up the tone. What is greenhouse gas? Greenhouse gas are combination of carbon dioxide, sulfur dioxide, NOx, nitrogen oxides, CO, carbon monoxide doesn't come out that way. And then comes PM, particulate matter, 2.5 or 10. I think some very intelligent people are sitting there. If you can add something, please add. Last time you added one thing. If you want to add, you can add anything that I have missed in GHG. Now what happens in this GHG, this proportion varies in thermal power plant in a very big way. Now imported coal, Dr. Singh was speaking about. If we import the coal, cost aside, the sulfur content in those coal are more than Indian coal. So that way, it requires treatment of the sulfur as well as Indian coal too. If Indian coal is having sulfur content of 0.5% in total GHG, the coal that we import, and mandatorily to some extent we will have to import those things, those coal for coastal powerhouses, it is about 2%. Hence, this FGD implementation we will have to do in a big way. And the total cost that will come for this FGD of 190 gigawatt, that is 190 multiplied by 1000 megawatt at the rate of 1.4 crore per megawatt, works out to somewhere around 2.66 lakh crores of rupees. That means 2.66 trillion rupees. Am I correct? Arithmetically.
You hope so.
As far as
we got the
converting
idea
lakh
that the
crore
number
to
is really large.
lakh crore to trillion.
Lakh crore.
Yeah, land road is.
1 lakh crore is equal to 1 trillion. That is what I mean. The multiplication is multiply 190 into 1.4, it will be coming very close to that 2.6 and 2.6. These people have already calculated. So they have not raised any question, that means I have. So this much capital outlay, so this much financing is required. It is already there. Already when this Panchamrit program was going on, central government has taken into account this much capital outlay has to be there. And the question comes, why so much? Why it cannot be reduced? From 3 trillion, why can't we make it less? We can do it if we indigenize. Now what happens, 50% of the entire technology is imported. What we would have imported only was the science, and development would have done in this country, but it will be again developing a will. Already will is available somewhere. So there are multiple ways of doing it. And one very easy way of doing it, the ethic people will not agree to me. You require one FGD set for 500 megawatt with some 20 spares, you purchase instead of 25 spares. Those 5 spares, if you do the reverse engineering in this country, you will get indigenized, which is ethically not allowed. A few months back, I was called by Vivekananda Institute of this thing, VIF, Vivekananda Foundation. We were discussing on, they were discussing on some intervention in marine turbine, which we do not have those technology. I give them the same solution. Retired Major General was telling me, you are telling other people. Then I stated them how ethically we can do it at a faster speed. Can we go back to again drawing board and do the things, discover the will or invent the will? In my opinion, we should not do it. You go to the history and see, Japanese purchased ships from Europe, broken the ships and developed the ship for themselves. So we can do it. So it doesn't exactly come to the ESG domain that you are speaking, but this is one part of it. So leave aside, if we can indigenize on our own, then this 3 trillion, 2.6 was 3 earlier, 3 trillion may come down to 2 trillion. Obviously, it will be a reduction and it will definitely go a long way in our country's GDP. If you calculate all these things, it will come, it will be advantageous for GDP. But this is not going to happen now. It will take time. And financing is not an issue at all. Now, once a power utility spends money in installing this FGD equipment, the cost that they have incurred, the IDC, interest during construction that they are going to incur, they will have to recover it. How to recover it? It has to be passed through. There is no other way. And if we want to lead a sustainable life for several hundred years henceforth, this cost will have to be. And how we can be, according to me, partially by government and partially by people who can stand for it.
So can I connect in honoring and respecting the timelines?
Yeah.
Can I connect this thing with, there is a question from Aditi, which says what small steps we can take in our spending activities to move towards sustainability?
In the context of the area that I am into, in general, I will tell you one very good thing. If you are having 5-bedroom house and you, in the evening, you are in your study, other rooms are not being used, put off the lights there. It's the simplest way of doing it. You can reduce it.
Are you guys doing this?
Now, second, why to drive away to your mall? Use e-commerce portal. Second way,
Some of us use these stairs to come.
that hardly matters. That hardly matters. Suppose you want to fly from Noida to this place.
Gurgaon.
Gurgaon, it doesn't have that connectivity. Is Dwarka. Why drive your vehicle? Go by metro. So this is how the small steps, and as you speak, the small steps you can take.
But I do see all these kids waiting for the elevator, not using these stairs. That's how I.
Basically, sir wants to use you.
And one more thing I'd like to tell you, as I was speaking, that day I was speaking to you on this. What is the additional cost that this pollution control equipment will add to in our existing electricity bill? It is around 3 rupees per unit nowadays. Okay, it will increase by 71 paise. Now 40% of our population cannot pay that. Out of remaining 60% of the population,
Then you don't pay.
no,
Then you don't pay.
out of that, they will not pay. They will not pay. So in
Maybe
that,
instead of 71, we'll end up paying 4 rupees 20 paise.
he's a finance man. So ultimately, the burden will come on your head, and you will have to bear that burden for the country. There is no other alternative to do it till we develop our own system, which will take little more time, and we will be able to do it. There's no doubt. The engineering institutions like BHEL, like you can say L&T, they are coming up with the things, and we will be definitely achieving that. Okay, with this, any other question that you have?
We do have questions, but we also have deadlines. Some of the panel members have to. If you allow, we can take one more question.
You can take one.
So this is one question, which is as we are reducing the use of resources like electricity, traveling, don't you think it will have an adverse effect on Indian economy? This is as per your comment, Mr. Sharma, that reducing electricity consumption and travel. So don't you think it will have an adverse impact on Indian economy?
Actually, it's both. It does have an impact because probably you will not use the metro or the car, or you will not spend an extra liter of gas or petrol. But also, you'll probably be able to do more economically useful work sitting at home. And me on the team like so end up adding to the GDP instead of deducting from the GDP. So you will actually your incremental revenue will exceed your incremental cost. Or the incremental savings will be more than the incremental cost. So I think positivity will be more positive. Okay.
So I'll just add one point, last point, which is that it's again a short-term versus a long-term mentality, mental model, right? It might have an impact on the GDP on a very short term, but if India does not live because of non-sustainable measures, what will you do of that GDP? So it's better to live in a less GDP for longer period of time rather to not live in a higher GDP, right? And these all factors, generally, if you see on a long term, this does not impact GDPs. These are very, very short term view of mathematical calculation. First of all, I'm not going to that GDP itself is a flawed figure, right? I may sound ultra negative in all my views, but GDP itself is a flawed figure, but we'll not go into that. But these all does not impact on long term in terms of these calculations, because if one thing does not happen, other thing will definitely happen. You will do something and something which new value will be created.
Mr. Weber, with your final comments.
Yeah.
It's off. Numbers.
Hello. Yeah, I think for me, as I said, ESG is important. Whether if you really see post-pandemic, if you see what has happened is during pandemic when things were closed, we have seen from our eyes, the less pollution in our environment. We have seen lakes coming back.
We saw
small
blue sky in Delhi.
blue sky. People were talking about seeing Himalayas from their homes. Those kind of things we heard for the first time. Things in my backyard, I could see some birds which I didn't used to see earlier. So it is not as if there is no impact of what we are doing, and it is nothing has to be done. I don't agree with that. So it's good that in a way the pandemic has come. People have now realized importance of ESG. And ESG has to be taken care of for us, for our generations, and it has to be sustained. So I would say now what is happening is, young generation, when you join a company, if you have a choice, if a company is a ESG compliant company vis-a-vis a company which is a big polluter, I think you would like to choose a company which is a ESG compliant company, because you would think that, okay, I am contributing something good for the world or for my country, right? So I think ESG is important. It is important, and I think it is a theme which will be prevalent in the coming years more and more, because things are going out of hand, as I think you started with all the things which are happening across in our lives. So ESG is important. You should play your role, whether from the start taking a jhola in your hand, or small things, and then in your company, for example, don't take a print. Try to use something. Today when I was coming here, I was thinking to take a print. Then I thought, no, let me not do that. I will speak from my mind. So that maybe 2 pages less printing is also important. So I would say ESG is important, and we need to play our role.
Thank you so much, Mr. Vaibhav. Thank you so much.
The event progressed with a lot of learning and great experience. But it's time for us to apply the learnings in our life, as we are towards the end of this session.
As said by Warren Buffett, in the world of business, the people who are more successful are those who are doing what they love. We'd now like to take the opportunity to thank our esteemed panelists for sharing experience-for learnings on ECG, providing the viewpoint of manufacturing firms, banks, and most importantly, focusing on environment and ethics. Now, I would like to invite Kirti ma'am to facilitate our panelists.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And just coming to what you said, we kind of discontinued the flex boards and everything, so we put up a digital reuse technology to save the environment. No more paper, no more plastic is there. That's how we ensure that we are sustainable.